Hey guys, so a few days ago I wrote a blog about why I would not use no-code platforms to build a web app. And in that blog I kind of touched on Node.js and why I wouldn't use Node.js either for a backend API personally. But I am working on building my personal portfolio website, and I have messed around with Strapi before, and I decided maybe I would try out Strapi again and see if I will use Strapi for my backend. And so I set up a Strapi admin account on my personal computer, and I've been really happy with it. So anyways, this is the backend. Nothing much to see here that's that interesting, but I added a post, and you can see this is kind of the admin panel. It's pretty cool. It's very easy to set up with their content types builder. You can build the collection types is what they call them, but they're basically like models. If you know a little bit about web development or software development and the model view controller methodology, these are like models, and you can set up different fields that correspond to a database table column. And it's really easy to do. You can add new fields. You can see there's quite a few things that you can add to a different collection type or model. And the awesomest part of this Strapi CMS is actually the API. So whenever you build a model, a collection type, you're also building an API automatically. So each collection type will automatically have an API. So if you go to the roles and permissions, you also have authentication out of the box with these APIs. For instance, these projects, I can make it really easy to make projects accessible to the public. And the same thing with my technology collection type. I can make these accessible so that I can access them from my front end website. So I'm going to be building a front end, and I haven't completely decided what technology I want to use for the front end, but I want to be able to access the data that's in my CMS. And it's so easy to do that and make it accessible to people. So I want to go and show you what is actually available with this API that comes out of the box. So this is the server that is running for the API. And if I just go and do add to the URL post, it already set up an API endpoint for all the posts, and I didn't do anything. So this is, I only have one post added, and this is the post. And you can see it's fetching all that information right out of the box. The other thing that was really cool, I didn't realize Strapi did, but it automatically formats images for you. So you have a thumbnail image that's a smaller image, you have a large image that's a little bigger, and then you have medium size and small as well. So that's really awesome for like mobile, making responsive websites. You're not pulling in really big images for small screens, and it just comes out of the box and it works. And you didn't, like, there was nothing I did to have that available to me. And it also is pulling in the categories. So if I want to have a little information about the category, it easily is able to do that. The other thing is, if I go ahead and add an ID to the end of that URL, and I know this post has an ID of 1, so if I just add it and press enter, bam, it only returns that post. But it also returns the category that post is related to, the image that is included in that post, and these different sizes. So it has all that information. The REST API comes out of the box. kind of long story short, maybe if I was going to do a Node.js backend, I would go with Strapi because it's built. I'm not going to have to reinvent the wheel. I'm not going to have to. The other cool thing is I added a plugin here with this Strapi. It's called GraphQL plugin, and it was pretty simple to do. It's just a npm package, and if you actually add the GraphQL to the end of the URL, you automatically have a GraphQL playground to play with. So for instance, I can do a query for post, publish that, and it brings all the posts back to me with just the published at attribute. The GraphQL, I've realized, is really awesome if you're wanting to not be pulling tons of data. But for instance, if you're just pulling categories and all you want returned with the categories is the name, that is pretty simple to do. Maybe the name and the ID, because let's say you're wanting to link to those category pages. Do that. Let's make sure we close off that correctly. And bam, all the categories, I only have one category right now added, is returned back to me. But it's only the name and the ID. If you're wanting to use the REST API and we go to the categories input, you can see there's a lot more information that is returned with each of these categories, and that might be okay. But let's say you're returning posts that has a lot more information. You probably want to use GraphQL. That way you're not pulling all the images on a collection, like on your front end. Let's say you're only wanting to show 5 posts and you're wanting to make your website as fast as possible. Well, then you only want to return, let's say, the title, a short description, and the cover image. That's all you want to return. If you do posts that way with the REST API, of course you could add a separate REST API endpoint with just that data, but you're going to have to manage that. With GraphQL, all you need to do is say, okay, all I want is posts, title, I think I have, okay, SEO description, and ID. That's all I want to return. Oh, maybe the image too. Image, URL. And I can, bam, I have it. And this is all the data that's returned when I do that. But if I did a request to this REST API endpoint that comes out of the box, it's going to be bringing in a lot more information. It's going to be putting a little more work on the server and on the database. And that's what the beauty of GraphQL really is, I believe, is you're making these queries, these endpoints, you can just do whatever. And it's so easy to do with GraphQL. So that comes pretty much out of the box with Strapi. So I'm pretty impressed. There's a little bugs here and there because it's a pretty new platform. It's a new CMS. But for my project, my personal portfolio, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be building it on Strapi CMS, and that may be a good option if you want to go with Node.js, and if you want to utilize some of your JavaScript skills, Strapi may be a great option for you versus trying to build a web app with Node.js and Express and trying to pull in these little npm packages to build out everything that you need. With Strapi, it just comes built for you. It's easy to visualize, and it's a lot more like the no-code routes because it's not no-code because you're going to have to code a little bit, but it's pretty visual too. You can easily visualize what your data is like, and so much of the work into the architecture is being done for you and actively being maintained. They've got a full-time staff that's actually paid, that's keeping this stuff up to date. And this is probably a good option for a full stack web app.